If you have your books with you, we're going to, if not, that's okay. We're going to continue on in one another, the study of one another. And we are in lesson 9, and compassion for one another. And so we're on number two, picking up with number 2 this morning. Compassion for one another, and in your one another books. And the last part, the last couple weeks, we've talked about the realm of compassion, but we're going to be starting on the reach of compassion this morning, the reach of compassion. And understanding what compassion truly is from a Christian's viewpoint is important, but also not only understanding how we are to have compassion one towards another, it's also the reach. Can have more of a reach of compassion towards others than other people can. So it may be really your personality. So everybody has different personalities. Some people are born your personality just naturally, the cup's half empty. And that's okay. That's, don't feel bad about that. But, sometimes those folks have to work a little harder to make sure they have a smile on their face towards somebody, especially the ones that are driving them nuts, that kind of thing. And it is what it is. I mean, our makeup is who we are, right? So we have to understand where our weaknesses are. And then there's some people that are just happy, they're just happy in life. I mean, they're just always giggly, even when there's problems going on. All they know how to do is, kind of chuckle it off and stuff. And, there's a happy medium in the middle. And I believe that's where God wants us, is to understand there's a good balance. And bless your hearts. But anyway, but to have that compassion one towards another is important, right? It's an important thing. So number 1, or number 2 there, the reach of compassion. All Christians ought to be involved in showing compassion to one another. So all Christians, everybody needs to have that kind of reach towards somebody. Now, you tell me, can you have compassion towards everybody? Is that everywhere you go? Is that what's going to happen? No, you're not physically able to do that. Everybody you're passing by, every time somebody's upset, not everybody is going to be able to do that. And so understanding that, God has given us the ability to have influence on some, right? So when you have that opportunity to have the compassion or have the influence, especially in a positive way, understand that is an important thing in our life. Now, I'm not saying every situation is positive. Sometimes you got to deal with hard things. This last week, man, I had a hard week. But my situation wasn't as bad as Brother Rich's. Brother Rich lost Miss Debbie not this last week, but week before. And Brother Rich lost Miss Debbie. Now, it changed my perspective real quick because I haven't lost my wife. Now, I don't want to keep bringing that up this morning, but let me tell you but we know where she's at this morning. And understand that when we deal with things, everybody might be worse off. It can always be worse. Now, it can always be better. Brother Rick and I was talking this morning. It's not always about it can always be worse. It can sometimes be better. It's okay to desire and try to make things better. But the goal that God has given the Christians is that we have a positive reach towards other people. We need to try to look at things as under God's lenses as positively as we can. So even in the situation, I know the situation this last week, I mean, I had to fire somebody, and it just seemed like it kept coming all week long. And man, I mean, it was just a rough week, But God's good, isn't He? And when we dig deep into His Word, and we would dig deep into His promises, into His prayer, understand that sometimes we just need to take a step back and think, okay, it's not as bad as really it could be. And so I need to have a positive outlook. And I'll tell you, I got to a point the latter part of this week, and man, I was like, it just seems like it keeps coming, you know? And you're going to have weeks like that. Sometimes you're going to have months like that. But understanding that God, what He did on the cross of Calvary for us, you know, we can have that positive, that positive glow about us. Because even when problems come and tough times come, we can sit there and think, you know what? God's good. God's good. Even though I'm going through the situation I'm going, and it's a change in life, or it's a change in, you know what? God is still good. And that's where we draw our strength from. That's where we can draw our strength, is in knowing that what God is doing in our life and what He has done for us in our life. So, having that reach of compassion is important. The next point there is reach verbally. Reach verbally. Verses 9 and 11 tells us that we can reach out with compassion through the use of our words. Because of the powerful influence of our words, we have need to be mindful of how we are to use them. When we speak kindly, we can encourage others. But when we speak unkindly, we can hurt others and cause strife. Understand that sometimes if you have something that is going to hurt somebody, it might be better for you to take a step back and maybe just not say it at all. Sometimes that's it. Now, if you got to deal with a situation, deal with it. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying sometimes we get to a point, we're having a bad day. Anybody ever have a bad day? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, my wife is like, she's praising the Lord with both hands, you know, back there. We have bad days. Sometimes it's the makeup of our body. It's the chemistry. Sometimes it's the fact that we're hangry. We haven't ate, right? Those are the physical, environmental type things with us. Sometimes we're having a bad day because, you know what, I did not want to get out of bed this morning. I'm hungry. You know, we didn't have a good meal last night. You know, my husband's been looking at me to clean the house, and I don't feel like it. Why don't you clean it yourself, you know? And or vice versa, you know, the husband comes home from work, or he gets up and he's crabby. Listen, we sometimes have issues. My kids look at me sometimes whenever I get them out of bed. Kara the other morning, Kara was like, Dad. It was Saturday. She's like, I just need to sleep a little. And I'm like, oh, did you stay up too late? Oh, you know, we're getting up early this morning. Did you stay up too late? And see, that is a challenge to me. Now, not to provoke my children to wrath. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, that's not the part. But sometimes it's like, I go into dad mode, and it's like, oh, honey, give me a hug. I know you, no, Dad, just leave me alone right now. No, give me a hug. Give Dad a hug. You need a hug right now. You know, and do you want me to go fix some breakfast? You know, come here. And my daughter's, you know, ready to throw something at me. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, sometimes it's environmental things, right? Sometimes it's people around you. You are like, okay, this person is driving me nuts. I got to get away from this person. Sometimes we do need to walk away. Honestly, that's the answer sometimes. But when we're able to have a positive response, and again, our responses are tied to what? Our blessings. So our response and how we handle situations are tied to the blessings that God gives us. They really are. And so as we're dealing with people, we've got to make sure that we try to have that compassion towards people. We can reach out with compassion verbally through positive words. You know, I have called many people blessings before. You're such a blessing. Thank you. There's two ways you could say that. You're a blessing. Okay, you're truly a blessing. Now, just get away from me right now. Or, you are a blessing to me. You know, spiritually, thank you for who you are. So you can use that in either term. So sometimes you might need to say you're a blessing and then just, you know, determine which way that is. But anyway, we need to really use the word blessing. The word blessing translates from the Greek word eulogio, which means we get the word eulogy. It means praise or good word or benediction. And even in a funeral, which we just had one, a family member is to give a eulogy, or somebody is to give a eulogy, speaking words of blessings about who has passed away. So even with that, you know, I think we had a great, wonderful funeral. People was talking about memories and stuff with Miss Deb. And understand that is the life. That is the good things in life. And remember, in a celebration. Proverbs chapter 25 and verse 11, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. Now that is really a strong phrase, but honestly, when you appropriately, talk to somebody, it can really change their day. It can really be a positive thing. So if Don is having a rough time and he's had a rough day at work and all of that, and he comes home and Laura's been driving bus and she comes home, she's thinking about all these snotty kids, and Don is thinking about, the crazy people at work that he's has to work with, and he's just wanted to, be in a locked room and nobody talk to him all day because they're out of their mind. And then all of a sudden, they come home together, right? And all of a sudden, what kind of atmosphere you think is about to take place? It may not be a good one. It can easily be one that is like clashing. Because Don could come in and say, man, you have no idea how my day was. Laura comes in and says, oh, yeah, actually, I probably do. And they start, and somebody, both are looking for comfort, right? Both are looking for comfort. And Amy and I have had this many a times where she's had a rough time, especially when the kids were young. She just wanted to talk to an adult because all she has had all day long is cleaning up diapers and animals and all kinds of stuff and cleaning the house. And she's like, okay, I'm about to go out of my mind. I need a break. I just need to talk to a human. I've had a long day, and I just want to come down and just like veg out for a second, right? But here's the thing. Both ways, sometimes we have to battle with that. And we have to wait our turn. One of the things that in marriage counseling many, many years ago, 25 years ago, or over that, whenever Amy and I went through premarital counseling, when we went through premarital counseling before we got married, one of the things that our mentor we were going through with he said, never use the words always, never, you always do this, you never do this. Words like that really don't have any meaning. Because when we use words like that, what happens? You're just making a blanket statement that really is not specific to the situation. We're trying to express how we feel, but it's not the truth in the matter, because nobody always or never does anything, right? You never take out the trash. Well, I took out the trash 3 times last year, okay? So just get off my back, right? What's that? Last year, yeah, But the point is, the same thing applies in our walk in life, man. We've got to be careful. We've got to make sure that we use positive words. So I remember when Wes got a promotion, and Wes got a promotion last year, year before, something like that, I don't know. It was kind of a promotion. And whenever he went through that, I said, man, that's great. And for me, I mean, I'm thinking this is a big deal. He's like, oh, it's really not that big a deal. They give me just a little bit more money and just a lot more responsibility, that kind of thing, And to us, it may not be a big deal, but we need to treat each other like that, okay? Because what if it is a big deal? I mean, really, what if it is a big deal? So, ladies, next time your husband comes home and, he's having a bad day or he's having a good day, be supportive as best as you can. Make a big deal about it. Make a big deal. Make sure that he knows, hey, listen, he is your protector. He is your guard. He is the one that helps carry you in life. Same vice versa, men. Say the same thing to your wife, because we all know, in life, man, that they help us. You know, my wife, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably be wandering to and fro, just kind of walking around without her. She's the one that tells me everywhere to go and where to be and what to do. She tells me how to drive. She tells me how to, Anyway, point being, without my wife, yeah, she's coming in the back door there. Without my wife, honestly, sometimes I probably wouldn't even made it where I'm at now. But you know what? At the end of the day, the same thing goes with our friends, right? Same thing goes with our friends. I see you ladies come in. You guys come to church together. You bring people sometimes. But Miss Patty, whenever you're not here, Miss Sharon, she's not as chipper as she is. Now, she gets to see a preacher, but that only goes so far, trust me. But she misses you when you're not with her. And the same thing. And so when we're missing each other and we're not together, it makes a difference. When I don't see Brother Rich, oh man, we throw it at each other all the time. We do. Yeah. I'll come in and I'll say, trying to think what I usually say to you. It rolls off the tongue. Yeah, that's exactly. How are you doing? You writing a book? Are you nosy? We throw it at each other. But you know what? I miss that whenever he's not here. Whenever I don't get to see him, I miss that. And the same goes with all of you. That is what fellowship's all about. And understand that when somebody's going through something. Last year, Brother Rick, man, he went through a lot with his wife a year ago. And he went through some tough times, man. He needed the love of his church. The same with all of you. Listen, you have gone through things in life, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. When people need each other, we need to be there for each other. So the word blessing really it is something that needs to be part of your language. Proverbs chapter 25, again, it says a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold. Understand that fitly spoken. When you speak to somebody and you're going to talk to them, you want to give them a thing of encouragement. Think about what you're going to say. Don't always just roll it off your tongue. Make sure it's something good. I've got friends in life that are outside the church. I've got friends, I consider all of you friends. But I've got friends outside the church, and sometimes, I just need them to tell me, hey, I love you and I appreciate you. And sometimes they need me to say the same thing. Sometimes it's just a statement. It's just a little bit of encouragement to help know, hey, I've got somebody else that's supporting me, that's walking with me. And so George Tewitt was a well-known American clergyman who pastored First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas, for decades. After accidentally killing his best friend while they were on a hunting trip, Tewitt was heartbroken. According to his daughter, he never laughed after that day. Tewitt had a radio program which would close each day with these words: be good to everybody because everybody is having a tough time. You never know what somebody is going through. So to sit there and think, I need to be good to everybody. I shared this many times, and I'll give you the very short version. I had it wasn't really a friend in school, but it was a guy I went to school with, and one of my first real bloody noses. I've had bloody noses before, been in scuffles and all that kind of stuff as a kid. But this guy named Jeff, he was going through some things that I wasn't aware of. His mom was dying of cancer. He was lashing out, and his dad didn't know how to handle things. And so his family just really it was a mess. I had no idea, because all I know him was in the atmosphere of school, right? And so it was like all of a sudden he just became a punk. He was always just trying to start fights, and he always had to be bigger and badder than everybody else. And that was just who he was, right? And so one day we came into school a little bit early, And I got dropped off, and I had one of those new, nice, bright white sweatshirts that I got for Christmas. And this is after we got back from our Christmas break, and I'm right inside the door, just kind of waiting for the school bell to ring to where we can go to our classes. And all of a sudden, I looked over at him, and I was looking out the door to see if, whenever people were coming in, and then I just kind of turned away, and he asked me what I was looking at. And then I just ignored him, and then he asked me if I had a problem, and I just ignored him. And then he came up behind me, and he said, "Hey, I asked you a question." I said, "Man, just leave me alone, I don't want any problems." And so there was only a couple of us there, and he jumped on my back and began to punch me in the nose. And blood went all down my brand new IOU sweatshirt. IOU was what was back then, back in the early 90s and late 80s. And all of a sudden, blood was going down. I didn't even know what happened. He just jumped on my back, started busting me in the nose. Teacher saw it, came down, took us both down, and went through all of that jazz, and they expelled him. Or not expelled him, suspended him. So I didn't see him for a little while. And then the teacher gave me a piece of information that I hadn't known. Now I could have held on and just think he was a punk all his life. But the teacher said, I said, "I don't understand what's going on." She goes, "I know." She goes, he's been going through some things at home lately. He's been getting into trouble, and his mom's dying of cancer, and his dad didn't know how to handle it, so he's been taking it out on the family, and unfortunately it's just, she's like, just try to be kind where you can and be forgiving. After that day, I realized that it wasn't just something the preacher talked about. No, there's kids that put on a face. Those faces come different directions, and adults do the same thing. Adults sometimes put on a face, and it seems like they're one way, but they're hurting inside. And after that day, I treated him different. I treated Jeff different. I could have said, "Man, get away from me." But I didn't. After that day, I began to try to befriend him. He never understood. He never understood why I was doing what I was doing. Well, what was I doing? I was sharing the love of Christ. And that's exactly what you don't know what somebody else is going through. You don't know the dark place that they're in. That's why we've got to look out for each other, everybody. That's also why we've got to make sure we don't just jump to rash decisions. Romans chapter 12 and verse 18, it says, "If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men." If it be possible. Now, is it always possible? No, sometimes people make it impossible. They make it impossible for you to be the person that God is calling you to be. Some people just won't leave you alone. And they just drag it into the ground. And you know what? Do everything you can to live peaceably among all men. The devil is always trying to stir up something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's going to be stirring up in our town. It's going to be stirring up in your family. It's going to be stirring up in America. I mean, crying out loud, we're getting ready to, we're heading towards November and looking at elections. And if you don't think that the devil tries to stir things up, just watch TV a little bit. Just watch some of this, I really do. I hate elections and politicians. I don't hate them personally, but I hate what comes out of it, And anybody that goes into politics and tries to, have a good campaign, a non-slanderous, do they ever make it anywhere? No. Because that's what America thrives off of. It's the slander. It's the juicy stories. I'm just saying this morning, we got to be careful. Let's treat each other with love. Romans chapter 14 and verse 19 says, "Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another." The phrase follow after the things which make for peace suggests that peace will not happen automatically. And I think that we need to always assume that peace will not just be automatic. That's why we need to try to have an attitude and a demeanor of peace, of love, because it's not always just going to automatically happen. Also, we need to reach thoughtfully. Reach, in the next point there, reach thoughtfully. We need to reach verbally, but we also need to reach thoughtfully. Sometimes it's not only our manner of speech that brings peace, but also the withholding of unkind words. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 44 says, "But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you." And we respond in anger, which will end up causing more anger and strife. And honestly, that's the way it is. So if you respond in a negative way, again, Laura, several Wednesday night Bible studies ago, said, well, how far do you allow it to go? Like, where's that dividing line? And there is a dividing line, let me tell you. You still have to stand up for yourself. You can't let yourself be pushed around all the time. But you got to pray about that. You got to seek God. God, where is the line here? With this relationship, where is the line where I have to draw to say no more? No more. I'm going to stand up for myself. And I believe that God will give you that. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1, it says, a soft answer does what? Turneth away wrath. But grievous words stir up anger. Job chapter 1 and verse 1 says, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. Despite his wife telling him to curse God and die, and all his friends falsely accusing him of a secret sin, Job remained focused on the Lord and maintained a godly testimony. So understand that in life, sometimes that's where we wind up. That's where we wind up. Even our family is saying, hey, listen, just curse God and die. Just get it done. We need to respond in a loving way. Cole, Pastor Webb's son, Cole, which most of you know very well, Cole, he is the most friendliest kid you'll ever meet. Cole will come up to you and he will, he'll hug on you, he'll love on you. He will just tell you you're wearing the most prettiest dress. He'll tell you, I'm so glad, I love you. He is just a loving kid. Cole had surgery on Friday, and when he was at was it camp, I think it was, his kneecap got dislocated to the side, so his kneecap was on the side, and so they had to have surgery for it. Well, Cole got all that taken care of and everything through surgery. They had to put some screws or whatever in to kind of hold everything together where it was going to go, and try to reattach it with the ligaments and stuff. And but when we were on a trip during COVID, the end of COVID, we went out west, and most everything was shut down, right? Our family, we went on their family went on a trip, and stuff was still open. We went to the Grand Canyon. I mean, we were staying away from sickness and everything, but I mean, there was still stuff open and stuff like that. So we just went Route 66, just out there, and just kind of drove up and around, come back through Chicago and come back down. When we were at the Grand Canyon, it was probably the best trip I think we could have ever taken to the Grand Canyon, because it was probably only about 100 people there. I mean, when do you ever go to a national park and there's only just, 100, 200 people just around, everybody spread out? It was great. It was just kind of getting out of the house and everything. And out of the blue, this guy was he was posing, and he crawled out on the ledge, not past the fence where you're not supposed to go. he was out on the ledge. He was trying to get photos and all this kind of stuff. Cole looked over, and he saw him kept moving around and stuff like that, and he was trying to get pictures. And so Cole just hollers, "Just jump and die already," you know. And it was like, Cole. He was tired of him thinking about it. Just do it. You know, sometimes in life, bless his heart, sometimes in life, God doesn't say that, but what he does say is, you just need to sometimes just do it. Just do it. Be kind. You're going through a bad day, but, you know, somebody else might be going through a worse day. They might be going through a worse day. Show love towards each other. Support each other. Listen to that person that drives you nuts. Just show love, because I'm telling you, in life, it'll come back around to you. When you're having a bad day, when you're going through some struggles, that's why God has called the church as a whole to pray for one another. Our problem in life is I don't believe that we pray the right way or enough. Man, let's change that, and let's be different.